Governor, I'm sorry I'm wearing the glasses, but given that we're living in volatile times, I had to go underground here in San Francisco. A man can't even enjoy a meal now without a bunch of bums running into the restaurant. So forgive the glasses, Governor.
You know, if anybody probably actually needed to wear them in San Francisco, no doubt, Michael, it would be you. I mean, Maxine Waters, who is from your state, is calling for people to be hunted down in places like restaurants.
Crazy woman. Crazy woman. How does she get away with it being a congresswoman who's supposed to be a law giver, a lawmaker, telling people to run after the political opposition and chase them out of... If you see them in a filling station, if you see them in a restaurant, you chase them. You make them known they're not wanted. Now, that is the opposite of Martin Luther King Jr.'s message. This is the uncivil rights movement.
I want to talk about your book because it is so timely.
Right.
It is almost like a perfect description of what's happening in America. And the subtitle may be the key, America's Insanity from the Salem Witch Trials to the Trump Witch Hunt. Let's talk about the Salem Witch Trials. How does that correlate to what's happening today?
Well, the Salem witch trials are usually misunderstood. It's when a group of young girls became hysterical and started accusing women of being witches and men of being witches, things like that, you know. And it wound up, people were killed as a result of it. It was false accusations. Now we come to the Trump witch hunt. First they started with Russia collusion. Then Mueller dropped that because there was nothing there. Then he switched to something else. Then we moved on to the Kavanaugh hearings where we saw a decent Christian man, I'm sorry to use the phrase, he was crucified by the left. And now the rest is history. He's a Supreme Court justice. But Governor, they've done that to an awful lot of people and driven them out of the media, driven them out of universities, driven them out of corporations. And that is what I mean by a witch hunt. Unfounded hysteria based upon lies or hearsay with no evidence. The opposite of American jurisprudence.
Do you think that many of the people behind the hysteria, do they actually believe what they're saying, or is it just a rhetorical tool because they lost an election, they're out of power, and they're using this just to create disruption without really a goal in mind?
You know, there are always rules to the game. You didn't go outside the field. And when you're on the field, you didn't kick the other man in the groin. Or when he was walking away from you, hit him in the back of the head with a stick. Those rules are all changed by the Democrats who persecuted Kavanaugh, hitting him in the back of the head. Dianne Feinstein, instead of releasing this letter from Dr. Fraud, I call her, instead of releasing it during the hearing, she waits till the 11th hour to say, oops, look what I found, and causes the whole hearing to be held up, and now an FBI investigation. But there's another case, Governor. You may recall the Dreyfus affair, France. Jewish officer in the French military. Never did anything wrong. French anti-Semites planted papers in his desk and said he was a spy working with Germany. Completely fake. He was found guilty. Dreyfus was sent to Devil's Island. You may remember the movie with Dustin Hoffman, Escape from Devil's Island or something like that. Well, it turns out the whole thing was fake based upon planted evidence. And it took 100 years to exonerate Captain Dreyfus. Look what they just did to Kavanaugh. It's very similar to what they did to Dreyfus. I don't trust this Dr. Freud or Ford, whatever her name is. Do you know, as you probably know, that they're going to try to impeach him now if they take back the House? Can you believe this? Is there anyone viewing Governor Huckabee's program right now who does not want the hysteria in our streets to stop? Is there anyone listening to this show who thinks it's a good idea to chase people down the street, to beat people up in the street? What kind of world are we living in? This is not a society that is civil. It is an uncivil society, and Hillary Clinton had the nerve the other day to say, we don't want a civil society right now. She said, we can't have a civil society until we, the Democrats, take power again. I'm sorry, this is crazy. It's all wrong. This is an example of the hysteria that must be exposed in order for it to be stopped, Governor. And this is the message I'm trying to get across. It's through education, learning, and history that we may save this country.
Well, I think you've certainly documented things very powerfully in the book, and I hope people will get a copy and read it. Michael Savage's new book is an important warning. It's called Stop Mass Hysteria. It's available at booksellers now. Be sure to visit michaelsavage.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Savage Nation.